Now that we have all of that overhead out of the way in the last section, with the first problem that we've done, now we have a similar problem. Again, same sort of thing. I'm going to present some results of a previous problem that we've done just so we can jumpstart the process of doing the power calculations part. So this is actually the results of a previous problem that we've done. First of all, it's a Y delta circuit, so Y source delta load, so this makes it a little different. It's a delta load circuit. And in the original problem statement, the delta load had this impedance, 118.5 plus J 85.8 ohms per phase. So remember, delta loads are triangles, so this is the impedance in each leg of that triangle here. But then, in order to make that single phase equivalent circuit, remember we have to take that, we have to transform that delta load into an equivalent Y load. So we divide this by 3, and that gives us our transformed load in terms of a Y load. That comes out to 39.5, that's this divided by 3. And 28.6 for the imaginary part, that's this divided by 3. So just divided by 3, this gives us that guy. Now we have to change our delta loads to Y loads, equivalent Y loads, in order to write a single phase equivalent circuit. So in that previous problem, we wrote the single phase equivalent circuit, which is given to you here. The source voltage is 120 angle 0. Here's the source impedance. Here's the line impedance. The load impedance, the 39.5 and the J 28.6, that's exactly what we calculated here from the original problem statement. And then we have, VAN marked off and VAN on the other side marked off. And then again, we were given all of these. We calculated these values in the previous part of the problem. We found out that IAA, which I usually like to write here, so I'll say I, little a, big A. Okay, IAA was given as this, 2.4 angle negative 36.87. VAN, capital AN, the voltage across this guy here, VAN, was given as this guy, 117.04 at this angle. VAN on the source side from here to here was calculated as this. VAB, which is not drawn here, it's another phase here. VAB is between A and the B phase, is the line-to-line voltage, 202.72 with this angle. And then the IAB, that is going to be one of the phase currents. Remember, in the delta load, we have a triangle. We have A, B, and C. So the IAB is the current flowing through that A phase of that triangle. It's not drawn in the circuit here because this is the transformed version, so we have a Y load here. But in the original problem statement, you would have a triangle there, and this would be one of the currents flowing through the leg. Okay, 1.39 angle negative 6.87. This is a very short problem, but we have to do some thinking about how to proceed. First part says, part A, what is the total complex power delivered to the delta load? Total complex power delivered to the delta load. I'm actually going to solve it two ways, but I want you to think about it with me for a second before we go any farther, because most of these problems are just come down to thinking about it. The confusing part of this thing is that you know that the original problem statement had a delta load, which is a triangle-shaped load, and then you know that in the process of solving that problem, we transformed it into a Y load, equivalent Y load, to make our single-phase equivalent circuit. So when we're coming to this guy, we know we want to have the total complex power delivered to the delta load. So then we have to make a decision. Do we go back to the original delta load drawing and figure out what it is there? Like maybe we can find the complex power of each leg and then multiply by 3? Do we have to work with the original delta load, is I guess what I'm trying to say? Or can we use this single phase equivalent circuit to get the same answer? And the answer to the question is we're going to do it both ways. And the answer to the question is yes, you can use the single phase equivalent circuit to get the answer, even though the actual load is not a Y load. It's not this load at all, it's a delta load. Here's the reason why. When you take that delta load and when you divide it by 3 and find the equivalent Y load, and then you build this circuit and agreed, from here on, the load is different. This is drawn as a Y load, and the real circuit is a delta load. They're different, I agree with that. But if you were to put binoculars here and look into the load and put this in a black box, then the load from a power point of view behaves exactly the same. That's why it's equivalent. From a black box point of view, the current going into that box and the voltage across the terminals sticking out of that box are the same. And if the voltage and the current characteristics are the same from the external part of that box, and that means the box is absorbing the same number of the same amount of power, no matter if it's represented as a Y load or a delta load. So you don't have to worry yourself with exactly how. What you need to worry yourself with is that someone has derived the consequence that if we take a delta load and we transform it to a Y load, they behave exactly the same from a terminal point of view. So the first way we're going to do this problem is totally forget that we even have a delta load. We don't even care. We've represented it as a Y load circuit, and we know, since we want to find the total complex power delivered to the load, if we model it as a Y load like this, as a Y load, if we found the total power absorbed by this Y load and get however many VAs there, P plus JQ, the total complex power S, right? For the Y load, that answer is going to be the exact same answer as if we did the calculations with the actual delta load. Why? Because they're the exact same, they behave the same from the terminal point of view. So pretend for a second we don't have a delta load. Pretend for a second this problem was Y load. If I just asked you, calculate the total complex power delivered to the Y load. I didn't give you any of this stuff up here. I just said, here's the Y load, here's one leg of it, the A phase. Find the total complex power. Well, then you would say, well, I know the current IAA going through this leg. That's given by this. VAN's the voltage across. I'm given this guy. So I know the complex power S is VI conjugate. That would be the complex power absorbed by this leg of the load, which is 1/3. And then I would take that complex number and I multiply it by 3, and that would be the total complex power delivered. So because there's exact equivalency 1-to-1 with the transformed version delta to Y, then let's just do it as if it were a Y load to begin with. So what we're going to do is exactly that, VI conjugate. So all of that talking was just to tell you the following. We're going to find the total power absorbed by that load. It's going to be equal to 3 times VAN, that's the voltage across one leg of the load, of the Y load, times the current flowing through there, that's IAA, but we got to remember to do the conjugate. The 3 is because it's, obviously this is just the power per phase, and then we multiply by 3. So what we have is 3 times, what's VAN? VAN was given to us as capital AN, that's the voltage across that leg of the load, 11704, negative 0.96. Okay, so it's going to be 11704. Whoops, don't close it off yet. The angle is going to be negative 0.96. That's the voltage across that transformed equivalent Y load. And then the current IAA going through there is given again here, 2.4, negative 36.87, but we have to remember conjugates means you flip the sign of the angle if it's in polar form. So we flip the sign of that angle, and what we're going to get is 2.4 at an angle of positive 36.87. We just flip the sign of that guy there. So then the answer to the question, the total complex power absorbed by the load is going to be equal to 68253 plus J 49425 VAs, volt amps. So that's the answer. Let me make sure it's 682.53 plus J 494.25. Okay, so again, I've harped on and on again about how when we transform delta loads to equivalent Y loads, we can, even though we haven't built this isn't really there, we can pretend it's going to behave from the same, because this times 3 is going to behave exactly the same way in terms of how much power it absorbs as to that triangle arrangement with different values in the triangle, which will be these values and so on. So then we do that and we calculate this value for the power. So then the question remains, how could we do it in another way? What if you didn't believe that, or what if you just didn't think of that? What would you probably first attempt to do? Well, if it were me and I was told, what's the total complex power delivered to the delta load? Then I would probably try to draw, I'm not going to draw it here, but you remember that the delta load actually is a triangle. There's an A phase and a B phase and a C phase. Each one of those legs of the triangle has this impedance. That's the delta load impedance right here, this top one, 118.5, 85.8 J. That's going to be in each leg of that triangle. Now, if I knew the current flowing through one of those legs of the triangle, and if I knew the voltage across the same leg of any one of those 3 legs of the triangle, in other words, for one of those 3 legs, if I knew the current through it and the voltage across it, I could do VI conjugate to get the complex power absorbed by that leg of the triangle. And then I multiply that by 3. So then the question is, do I have that information? Well, you go back here and you say, well, remember I told you what this was, IAB. That's not on the drawing here because IAB is the current going through from A to B through one leg of the triangle. And then VAB is the voltage across that leg of the triangle. This is the line-to-line voltage, but remember from a delta load, VAB, the line-to-line voltage is the same exact thing as the phase voltage. So it's the tip of the triangle to the B leg down at the bottom. From here up down to this lower left, I'm kind of visualizing a triangle like this. From here down to here, that's VAB, and the current going through that same leg is this. So it's these 2 values. This is the voltage across one leg of the triangle for the A phase. This is the current through that same leg of the triangle in the A phase. So let's do VI conjugate multiplied by 3. I don't think I need to be too hiding it from you exactly what you're going to see. You're going to get exactly the same answer. So the total power, we can calculate it a different way. We can say 3 times VAB times IAB. Don't forget to take the conjugate. It's complex power. So that's going to be 3 times. What is VAB? It's you got 202.72 at this angle. So you got 202.72 at this angle of 29.04. I conjugate is this one. And you're going to flip the sign of this guy and make it positive 6.87. So you're going to have 1.39 angle 6.87. Don't forget to flip your conjugate signs because you're going to get the completely wrong answer if you don't do that. All right, so the total, let's do S total like this. What do I get when I actually multiply these numbers? Now here I'm going to be honest with you. What you actually get is 684.68 plus J, 495.80. And you compare this to this, and you say, well, they're pretty close, but they're not the same thing. And you say, well, maybe I did something wrong. But then you realize you didn't do anything wrong. What you have going on here is you have a lot of decimal truncation going on. So any small changes in the decimals when you calculate one versus the other method is going to lead to very small differences in the answer. If you were to go back and redo this calculation with more decimal points, in other words, these values that I pulled out of here are the results of a problem that we've already worked. If I carried more decimals in all of these numbers and did the calculation, we would get exactly the same power absorbed in the load. But what's going on here, if you remember, when you shift the voltage, or not the voltage, when you shift the current from the line current to the phase current, there's a square root of 3 factor in there. Right? Square root of 3 is an irrational number, and it just depends on how many decimals you carry through that multiplication to determine the accuracy of this final answer here, right? And then also, whenever we transform the delta load into the equivalent Y load, we divide by 3 each of these cases. But I truncated the decimals when I did this division, so when I went from the delta load and calculated the Y load values, I did some rounding, in other words, right here. And then when I calculated the phase current from the line current in the original problem statement, you do some rounding there also. All these things together means that when you calculate the answer using these numbers versus the other numbers, you get some very slight differences. But notice it's like 1 part in 100. It's not bad. It's like 1% difference between the two of those guys. So, or maybe a little bit less, a little bit more, but it's pretty close. Close enough for just a check, for a quick double check. So the point of this is to show you that when you're asked to calculate complex power and you have a delta load, yes, of course, you can use the actual values in the delta load. If you know the values in the load of the triangle, and you know the current going through one leg of the triangle, and you know the voltage across that leg of the triangle, then absolutely, VI conjugate times 3 gives you the total power absorbed, complex power absorbed by that whole triangle, that delta triangle. But you don't have to do that. If you have a single phase equivalent circuit, then you already have an equivalent load that should behave from a power point of view the same way. So you find the power here times 3 and you get the same thing. That's the bottom line. Remember that, because it can trip you up. Sometimes, maybe I don't give you these things. In this particular problem, I gave it to you because I reminded you that that's what these were. But if I didn't do that, if I just gave you this information, didn't give you this, then you need to know that this transformed version can give you the same power absorbed. Now the next part of the problem looks complicated, but it's not. It says, what percent of the average power from the sending end of the line reaches the load? What percent of the average power at the sending end of the line reaches the load? This is just an exercise in reading comprehension, but honestly, it's more of an exercise in just figuring out what they actually want. What they want you to figure out is what percent of the, like when they say the sending end of the line, obviously this is the sending end of the line. This is where the generator is. This is the generator. This is the internal impedance. So this whole thing is really inside of a box that's called the generator. This little wire comes out, that's everything external to the generator. You have a line and then you have a load impedance. So the question is, what percentage of the power that is kind of transmitted out of that box actually reaches the load? So the way you got to look at that is you got to say, well, this generator is pushing out some current. You have a voltage drop here across the line, which is a loss in the line. Then you have a voltage drop across the load, which is power delivered to the load. So what you need to figure out is, when they ask what percentage of the average power from the sending end of the line, what you want to do is figure out what is the average power in the line, loss in the line itself, and then what is the average power in the line plus the load, because that's the total power delivered from the generator is what's lost in the line and the load. And then you want to figure out, well, what's the ratio of the two? How much of the power reaches this as compared to what's delivered to the whole thing? And that's going to tell you something. Now, you should have very small losses in your line. So the line, if you've done it right, should have very small electrical losses, and most of the power should be delivered to the load. So we expect, when we see an answer like what percent of the power reaches the load, we expect to get an answer like 95% or 96% of the power should reach the load. So let's see what we get in this particular problem. The first thing we want to do is find out what is the power, the real power, absorbed in the load. So, because it says right here, it says what is the percent of the average power? That means P. When you read average power, you mean you want P. So what is the P for the load? When you go back, we've already done that calculation. The total power delivered, remember we times 3 because we want the whole thing, 682.53. So the real part of it is 682.53 watts. So we don't have to do any calculation to get that. We've done that. This is the power that's actually absorbed in the load itself. Now let's go back and figure out what is the power absorbed in the line, the real power in the line. And the real power loss in the line, you can do it however you want. I'm still going to calculate the complex power. The power loss in the line per phase is going to be via, you could do VI conjugate again, but I don't know the voltage across this. So what I'm going to do is say I squared Z, because I know what the current is, I know what the impedance is. So I'm going to say I squared Z. It's magnitude IAA squared times Z. The magnitude of IAA squared, if you look at the line current, the magnitude's 2.4, so it's 2.4 squared. And then that line impedance is this 0.3 plus J0.9. Okay, so you have this squared times this, so the power in the line per phase is going to be equal to 1.73 plus 5.18. VA. Now this is per phase. This is just for that one phase. We want to find out what the total, this is the real part of the power in the A phase. What would be the total line losses would be the power lost, P part, in the line total, which means this times 3, 1.73 times 3. And the answer to that is 5.19. Okay. So we already know how many watts of real average power is delivered to the load itself, this part. And now we figured out how many real watts of power is actually lost in the line itself. So to figure out what that percentage is, the percent absorbed is going to be how much is delivered to the load, 682.53, divided by whatever is absorbed in the load plus whatever is absorbed in the line, 5.18 or 0.19. Basically, you know, it's part over whole. It's a fraction, part over whole, right? Just like any fraction. You know, 9/10 of a pizza means 9 slices out of 10. That's what it means, part over whole, right? So this is how much of the power, the part of the power that reaches the load divided by all of the power that's lost in the line and the load. So what you get is, and you know, you can, this is going to give you a decimal, and you can multiply that times 100 to move it into a percent, and you're going to get 99.25%. Again, it's just a simple calculation, but you have to know what to do. You have to know what it's asking. And when a problem says what percent, you need to be thinking part over whole of the average power, means P, from the sending end of the line, which means from here on to the load. So what you got to do is calculate the total power absorbed, real power, which is the denominator, and then the power only absorbed by the load, which is the numerator. This obviously is only very slightly bigger than this, so you get 0.9925 times 100 gives you 99.25%, which makes sense. That's why I kind of asked you ahead of time, what would you expect? I mean, it's pretty bad if you figure out you only get 50% of the power delivered to the load. 99 is a little more realistic, right? So again, we're inching our way up. We're doing, you know, different kinds of problems. I wouldn't call this one more complicated. It's just different information, different types of problem phraseology to kind of get you thinking about what you need to be calculating. But ultimately, it's all going to come down to calculating real part, imaginary part, and putting your, you know, using your powers of deduction to figure out what they're trying to ask you for. So follow me on to the next section, and we'll conquer some more problems right now. Learn anything at mathandscience.com.